Hello, all you beautiful people. It's Ezra here, and welcome to Dax's Desk, a place where we can come to connect and communicate about all things organization, planning, productivity, and of course, study. So it's 1 week away from my beginning of semester 2 of my second year of uni. And right now, I'm just trying to get back into the swing of things, waking up early, having a good morning routine, and doing a little bit of light study before the semester hits off. So today I thought I would cover what my lecture routine will be this semester. And this is something I've been trying to improve over my years of uni study. Why? Because I was spending hours on lecture notes and doing things that weren't going to really count in the long run. So the first thing I would do before the lecture is to try and read the lecture slides. If you don't have time to do this, if the lecturer has only posted it on the day or something like that, then at least try and read the topic, bullet points, or the heading. And when you do this, try and formulate questions that you may have for the lecturer or just for yourself so that you know what to focus on during the lecture. I would also transfer the lecture notes to a software, for example, OneNote, where you can annotate next to it. So what I used to do, and I do not recommend you do this, is I would write in my notebook some notes that were basically what was already on the slides. And sure, I would reformat it a bit, but it was basically just transcribing what was on the actual slides. And sure, it looked pretty, it looked organized, but it took like 2 hours per lecture. I'd often find myself sitting in front of the TV and doing lecture notes, which is not a very good practice, as me doing the lecture notes was actually to get it in my mind so that when I entered the lecture, I would already have a brief understanding, which by the middle towards the end of the semester wasn't really working. So during the lecture, I would recommend just listening, because the power of listening is really, really important in uni. There are recordings, if you're lucky, of the lectures afterwards that you can replay back. But if you just sit there, take in what the lecturer is saying, don't worry about transcribing every single word he says, then you'll actually get more out of it. Don't worry about putting your notes all fancy and neat right now. What you're trying to gain is the important information that may not be on the lecture slides, so jot those down. But if you can't, just sit there and take it in. Listening actually has about a 30% retention in your memory, in your learning memory, as opposed to reading and writing, which is about 10 to 20%. So annotations and write down what is not on the slides. It is pointless to write down something that is already on the slides unless you are emphasizing a specific point or if it's a question. So after the lecture, I would always write cue cards for that specific topic. And this semester, I'm actually looking into something called spaced repetition, which is when you actually use cue cards and specific study times, for example, 1 day, 1 week, and 1 month after the initial lecture to go over what you've learnt and try and retain it in your long-term memory. So writing cue cards, making posters and or study notes if you'd like is really helpful after the lecture. I stress after the lecture. There's no point trying to do the lecture notes beforehand when you don't know what the key points are, what the lecturer may emphasize. A lot of the times when I did notes beforehand, I would write something down only to realize that it wasn't on the exam, or it was just too in-depth and they said, we're not going to test you on this. So that was a waste of time. The last thing I would do is to answer any questions that you may have had before the lecture, or sometimes prescribed questions in the textbook cannot be answered until after you've watched the lecture. So that was my lecture routine. I really hope to improve on it a bit more next semester, but I hoped these tips could help you guys. If you like this video and if you like this content, please give this video a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel. Have a nice day. See ya!